welcome back to another cult horror movie review. From the director that brought us the Chucky franchise, I found out that Tom Holland was also behind Fright Night. No, not this Tom Holland. This vampire cult classic, along with Child's Play, are his two big movies. It's the very first time I'd ever watched it, and honestly, it wasn't bad at all. But just before we get going, if there's a cult horror movie you'd like me to review, you guys already know the drill, just leave me a comment down below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and let me know what are your thoughts and feelings on Fright Night. In the mid-1980s, a suburban kid named Charley starts to suspect that his next-door neighbor is a blood-sucking vampire. It starts out a bit like Rear Window, Vampire Edition. When his buddies, his girlfriend, the police, and even his own mother don't believe him, who does he turn to for help? A horror host on television called Peter Vincent, who always presented himself as a vampire hunter in his shows. Yeah, I didn't see that one coming. The title of the movie comes from the fictional TV show, which is called Fright Night. Peter Vincent is just an homage to both Peter Graves and Vincent Price. Tom Holland originally wanted Vincent Price to star as Peter Vincent, but he refused because, at this point, he was sick of always being typecasted in horror movie roles. It's a horror comedy that put a smile on my face for most of the time, sometimes even making me laugh. Once again, it's one of those few horror films that balance out the horror and the comedy quite well. What I also found interesting is that there are plenty of tributes to other horror movies.
Because nobody wants to see vampire killers anymore, or vampires either. Apparently all they want are demented madmen running around in ski masks, hacking up young virgins.
Like the Dracula films, of course, but also the Hammer horror productions that followed. The characters talk about all the different ways to kill a vampire, tapping into all the folklore surrounding those ghastly creatures. In Peter Vincent's house, you can see a picture of Bela Lugosi dressed as Dracula, and a poster for House of Dracula. One of the real live masks used in the Planet of the Apes is visible on his wall, and at one scene, a character is watching Octoman, an awful movie that I should probably get to review in one day. I like it how this whole production is self-aware and knows what it's doing, all while giving the audiences something a bit different, a vampire movie done in an urban setting. Back then there were barely any films like it. The practical effects are really good. It's too bad that we only fully see them during the final third act. I would have wanted to see more of them. The vampire makeup looks very fiendish. I like it. I'd say it's one of the scariest vampires I've seen in a movie. Although something I didn't understand is that at one point, one of the vampires turns into a werewolf. I'd like someone to explain to me what that was all about, because I just don't get it. It's just so random. It's entertaining for the most part, and funny as well, but there are some scenes that I found boring sometimes. The movie stretches to 1 hour and 46 minutes, which I think is a little bit too long for the subject matter. Cutting it a little shorter, like to 1 hour and 30 minutes, would have made more sense to me, because I was rooting to see the vampires. A sequel was shortly released after, but it wasn't supposed to be any good, and then a big budget 2011 remake came out that I'm tempted to see. Anyways, I thought Fright Night was an overall satisfying vampire film. It could have used more vampires in it, in my opinion, but even so, it's an amusing watch, and I definitely think it deserves its status as a cult classic horror comedy.
Say back!